This page is the front cover of the Dreamcast Magazine, issue 11 from September 2000. The cover screams, "Let the games begin," with the chap looking rather triumphant, likely in anticipation of the Sydney 2000 Olympics, which is previewed inside. Alongside that, they're covering Virtua Athlete, UEFA 2001, and SEGA Extreme Sports, promising more besides. There's a mention of an exclusive demo disc with 3 playable games, always a treat back then, and right at the bottom they're teasing features on Dead or Alive 2, Jet Set Radio, and Samba de Amigo. Looks like a cracking issue, also highlights Ultimate Fighting Championship, Space Channel 5 and Echo the Dolphin player guide in the bottom strip. This page is all about the cover disc for this month, highlighting 3 cracking playable demos. First up is Virtua Tennis, a proper arcade conversion. The blurb mentions it's got all the player likenesses of the day like Tim Henman and Tommy Haas, always good for bragging rights down the pub. Then there's F1 World Grand Prix 2, promising realistic handling and circuits, and it seems to have all the licensed cars from the 1999 season, including Arrows and Jordan good choices. Lastly, Gauntlet Legends, a hack-and-slash adventure, a bit of a classic coin-op revamped for the Dreamcast, perfect for a bit of coupe fun. Moving on from the demos, there's Virtua Athlete 2K, billed as a new sports game from SEGA, aiming for Olympic glory, capturing all the sweat and strain of athletic events. They mention a variety of track and field events, with multiplayer and online features, so a decent package for sports fans. Then Power Stone 2 is getting some attention, a sequel to the popular Capcom fighter, promising even more manic multiplayer action. Finally, Aerowings 2, Airstrike is featured, which is another helping of arcade-style flight combat action, a follow-up to the original, with new planes and 2-player dogfights. Seems like a solid mix of demos and previews to get readers excited for the Dreamcast this month. Issue 11 of the magazine, dated September 2000, previews several games. Highlights include sports titles like International Track and Field, NBA 2K1, European Super League, and NFL 2K1, alongside racing games like San Francisco Rush 2049, and the rally title Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Other previews feature Space Channel 5, and Ultimate Fighting Championship. Features include a focus on Dreamcast fans at Wimbledon, studio talent at SEGA, and interviews with developers. A Dreamcast owner's guide is also present. The review section is extensive, covering Sydney 2000, Dead or Alive 2, Star Wars Episode 1, Racer, Aerowings 2, Airstrike, Jet Set Radio, and Disney's Dinosaur. Other reviewed games are Roadsters, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, Samba de Amigo, Maken X, Plasma Sword, and Street Fighter 2i, Third Strike. Hints and tips are provided for Echo the Dolphin and Resident Evil Code Veronica. Regular sections include news, charts, and letters. The next page showcases some of the people behind the Dreamcast magazine under the heading, "Who Does This Stuff?" We see profiles and pictures of Gareth Ramsey, describing himself as an electronic news hound, Poggy, a former Financial Times journalist, Simon Osborne, a designer, and Dave Woods, a former editor of PC Zone. The right side is dominated by a vibrant advert for Walt Disney World Quest, Magical Racing Tour on Dreamcast. The advert highlights a competition to win a holiday to Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. The game itself is described as a racing game through 13 different Walt Disney World tracks, including Space Mountain and Blizzard Beach, featuring characters like Chip, Dale, and Jiminy Cricket. There are screenshots showing in-game racing action and Mickey Mouse in a promotional image for the holiday prize. This page is a vibrant look at sports games coming to the Dreamcast, headlined, "Let the Games Begin." It sets the scene for the upcoming sports season, noting how gaming fills the gap when the real-world sporting calendar quietens down. The page announces a special section in the magazine dedicated to Dreamcast sports titles. We get a sneak peek at the games they'll be covering, listed under the competitors. This includes titles like ESPN, International Track and Field, European Super League, NBA 2K1, NFL 2K1, SEGA Extreme Sports, Sydney 2000, UEFA 2001, and Virtua Athlete. Visually, the page is packed with dynamic imagery of athletes in action across various sports, from American football to track and field, really capturing the energy of sports gaming. This page takes a closer look at a couple of games mentioned in the Summer Sports Special. We have Sydney 2000, which looks to capture the Olympic spirit with a range of events. It highlights the pick-up-and-play nature, suggesting it's easy to get into, but with depth in mastering the power buttons and techniques. They even mention using pens to protect your fingers from button mashing, Screenshots show swimming looking quite good, with the claim it's all about stamina and water. There's also a skeet shooting image, joking about blindfolds and guns, which sounds like typical gaming humor. Just score. Then we've got ESPN, International Track and Field. It's being billed as a return of the joystick destroyer, suggesting some serious button-bashing gameplay, typical of these track and field games. Ed Lomas is mentioned as being trackside, perhaps implying commentary or in-game presence. The screenshot features pole vaulting, and they point out the improved graphics and detailed animations compared to older versions. It's due out in October and developed by Konami. They're promising a lot of events, including weightlifting, javelin, long jump, and discus, with new additions and updated graphics. It sounds like they're aiming for a classic arcade feel, but with a modern Dreamcast polish. They even touch upon Halliwell's influence on fashion still visible, which is a funny reference to Jerry Halliwell, and perhaps the character design style. This text preview highlights two sports games. Sydney 2000, aimed for accessibility, emphasizes its pick-up-and-play style with power button depth for serious players. Screenshots showcase running events, offering slow-motion replays for technique improvement. The game's colorful costumes receive gentle criticism. NBA 2K1, introduced as virtual basketball over the internet, is poised as a top hoop shooter. Scheduled for early 2001, it's developed by Visual Concepts and published by SEGA, with full online play for up to 8 players. The focus is on realistic gameplay, improved graphics, and managerial options. Screenshots highlight dynamic basketball action and smooth animation, with a focus on online play. This page reviews Sydney 2000 and previews European Super League, both for the Dreamcast. Sydney 2000 is praised for its accessibility and depth, with stylish but simplistic graphics and arcade-style gameplay. The Olympic mode and enjoyable 4-player mode are highlights. While repetitive dialogue and a lack of online features are drawbacks, the game received a solid 7/10 for its varied events and replayability. The preview for European Super League describes it as a deep football management game, featuring real players, stadiums, and complex team negotiations. It offers a realistic experience, focusing on strategy and accuracy, akin to golf management games. Developed by Crimson and published by Virgin, it was expected to release in November and aimed to be the best football game on the Dreamcast. This page is a summer sports special, featuring previews of 2 games. The first one is UEFA 2001, which sounds like it's trying to be a proper football game. They're talking about realistic player intelligence, ultra-realistic player teams, crowd reactions, and detailed player physics. It's due out in September, published and developed by Infogrames. They are aiming for realistic attributes for the players, and they have apparently captured 20 stadiums in the game, claiming to be the most accurate in any football game at the time. They also mention that players will react to what is happening on the pitch, and that weather conditions will affect player likenesses. The second game previewed here is SEGA Extreme Sports. This one's a bit different, focusing on dangerous sports, with the tagline, "Dangerous sports from the comfort of your own home." It features snowboarding, mountain biking, quad bike racing, bungee jumping, and base jumping. It's also due in November, published by SEGA, and developed by Innerloop. They are mentioning online competitions and downloadable content to unlock bonus tracks, so it sounds quite forward-thinking for the time. The characters will be wearing branded clothing and riding sponsored bikes. They are highlighting the environments as being vast and varied. SEGA is releasing 2 sports titles this summer. Virtua Athlete, developed by Hitmaker, is a button-mashing Olympic-style game featuring 7 sports, customizable athletes, and online multiplayer for up to 4 players. It aims for realism with polygon-enhanced graphics, motion capture, and detailed stadium environments, releasing in September. NFL 2K1, developed by Visual Concepts, is SEGA's American football game, launching in October. It boasts improved gameplay, controls, and replays, and supports online play for up to 8 players with downloadable content. It has received positive reviews and features smoother graphics compared to its predecessor. The next page is an advert for the Dreamcast game Wacky Races. It's showcasing Penelope Pitstop in the Compact Pussycat and Dick Dastardly in the Mean Machine. The tagline is, "Show your competitors the best shortcuts, be nice," playing on the cartoon's theme of sneaky tactics. You can see a glimpse of the game's box art and some screenshots. It's a fun kart racer based on the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon, a bit of chaotic fun for the Dreamcast. Two exciting games are coming to the Dreamcast. Shake It Baby highlights Samba de Amigo, a rhythm game where you shake maracas. Originally, SEGA Europe was hesitant about a UK release, but demand prevailed. The game is expected in December, though the maraca controller cost is a concern. The article explains the controller's sensor-based tracking. Dynamite announces Dino Crisis from the Resident Evil team. Screenshots depict tense survival horror scenarios with dinosaurs. It's described as Resident Evil with dinosaurs. A Monkey See, Monkey Do column by Alex Huhtala praises both games. Samba de Amigo is fun for parties despite potential cost, while Dino Crisis promises a thrilling experience. Box art for Samba de Amigo is shown. See. This issue features a Dreamcast focus. Eric Cantona promotes Dreamcast Beach Football, a game with penalty shootouts. The UK Console Championships are underway, seeking the best Soul Calibur player, with a final in London. Sega's autumn/winter release of Shenmue is confirmed, along with a schedule including Virtua Athlete, Virtua Tennis, Jet Set Radio, and Samba de Amigo. Leonard Nimoy voices Spock Seaman. Shigeru Miyamoto enjoys Samba de Amigo. PBA, Bowling 2001 is coming, and Dreamcast, a PlayStation emulator, is launching. Finally, Black and White, Peter Molyneux's God game, is reportedly selling well in Japan. This page previews upcoming Dreamcast games, starting with The Sky's the Limit, featuring Japanese RPGs. Grandia 2, Skies of Arcadia, and Phantasy Star Online are highlighted. A Watch This section reviews VHS releases of American Beauty, A Room for Romeo Brass, and The Talented Mr. Ripley. Foul Play previews the Dreamcast game Chicken Run, based on the Aardman movie. Your Most Wanted presents a reader poll, with Shenmue still topping the list. Following are Metropolis Street Racer, Half-Life, Phantasy Star Online, Sonic Adventure 2, Black and White, Jet Set Radio, Quake Arena 2i, Virtua Tennis, and WWF Royal Rumble. Finally, Have Your Say encourages reader voting for a chance to win a visual memory unit. This issue previews Sega Marine Fishing, a fishing game featuring diverse locations and exciting catches like swordfish and sharks. A competition offers X-Men, VHS tapes and comics, tying into Marvel vs. Cap.com 2. A Cabbie's Guide to Ibiza links Crazy Taxi with the Party Island, highlighting clubs, and the real-life 1960s Cadillac Taxi, a promotional piece. Games News covers DuckTales on Dreamcast, described as a hybrid title, and Planet Raiders, the arcade sequel to Blast from the Past. Sega is pursuing a deal with Sega Europe for a football game. Dream Arena partners with Virgin Net for online content. Finally, they discuss the Japanese release of Mrs. Driller and its potential appeal in the West. This review covers Dreamcast and PlayStation, starting with the Dreamcast Doorstep Challenge, focusing on consumer preference. The main feature, Shaky Ground, highlights PlayStation's dominance, citing Dan Trent's findings about players staying loyal despite the Dreamcast's strong game lineup, including titles like Samba de Amigo and Ready 2 Rumble Boxing. However, PlayStation offered more game quantity. Let's Get Quizzical previews the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game, emphasizing the tension of the show, authentic questions, and multiplayer options. It's due out at the end of September. Drive You Daffy showcases Looney Tunes Space Race, a hovercraft racing game akin to Wipeout with Looney Tunes characters and power-ups, scheduled for October, previewing in September and supporting 4 players. Finally, the Residents section reveals game preferences. Adrian likes Gear Solid, PS, and Ready 2 Rumble Boxing, DC. Hannah favors Resident Evil 3, Nemesis, PS, and House of the Dead 2, DC, and Rosie enjoys Fear Effect, PS, and Samba de Amigo, DC. This page showcases the HMV Top 10 Dreamcast game chart, revealing wacky races holding the top spot, followed by NHL 2K and Tony Hawk Skateboarding. Resident Evil, Code Veronica and Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future are also high up in the top 5. The playlist section offers mini-reviews. Echo the Dolphin is praised for its freedom and engaging gameplay. Rayman 2 is lauded as a visual spectacle. Four-Wheel Thunder is highlighted for its excellent racing mechanics, and Choo Choo Rocket is called a favorite from Sonic Team, noted for its mad and incredibly confusing but fun multiplayer gameplay. Street Fighter 2i, Double Impact is mentioned as a great conversion for Dreamcast with excellent combos, and Resident Evil Code Veronica is described as graphically impressive and scary. The chart track Top 20 lists Tony Hawk's Skateboarding at number 1, followed by Wacky Races and Resident Evil Code. Veronica, with Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future and Crazy Taxi rounding out the top 5. The chart analysis section comments on Wacky Race's popularity, noting its demo disc success and strong sales, and also mentions Tony Hawk's Skateboarding and NHL 2K as other popular titles. Finally, there's a competition to win the top 10 games, asking about a vehicle featured in Wacky Races and a discount voucher for £5 off any Dreamcast game at HMV. This page features a section titled Toys for Boys and Girls, showcasing a selection of quirky gadgets. There's a Deer Hunter toy gun, described as a pocket-sized guitar amp and space rocket alarm clock, alongside an exploding gold ball snigger, and a CD deck designed for DJs. Among the items detailed are Cherry Garcia and Bailey's ice creams, Magnum Classic ice cream, a smoky guitar amp which is a cigarette packet guitar amp, and rock and roll space clock shaped like a rocket. Also featured is the Cloud Flight golf ball exploder. Finally, there's the Pioneer CMX 5000, described as a new rock and roll star for DJs. It's quite a random collection of items for the modern gadget enthusiast. This preview of Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast, titled Kick This Out, showcases reactions from Wimbledon attendees. Interviewees, ranging from students to retirees, tested the game. They were asked about their favorite real-life tennis stars and who they played, as in the demo. Players chose athletes like Philippoussis, Rafter, and Sampras. The consensus was overwhelmingly positive: impressive graphics, easy controls, and fun, authentic gameplay. Attendees praised its accessibility and balanced gameplay, with some even claiming the graphics looked real. This exclusive preview suggests a positive reception for Virtua Tennis. The full review is expected in the next issue. This page features an interview with Metro Mustafa, an extraordinaire producer at Midway, titled Ready to Rumble. He talks about his unusual route into the games industry, mentioning starting with Nintendo competitions and working his way up. He mentions working on games like Ready to Rumble Boxing, Round 2, and San Francisco Rush 2049 for the Dreamcast. Metro discusses his passion for games, saying games were something that I always excelled at, which is highlighted in a quote at the bottom of the page. He comes across as very enthusiastic about his job and the potential of the games industry. The next page showcases an interview piece titled Turning Japanese, featuring Luke Valentine. It seems Luke is a Westerner who's been integrated into a Dreamcast game. Specifically, his face is used for a character in Virtua Tennis, although he wasn't actually motion captured himself for the game. That was done by a Japanese pro and the director. He mentions working at SEGA and lists a load of Dreamcast titles he's been involved with, including Virtua Fighter 3 TB, House of the Dead 2, Choo Choo Rocket, Maken X, Virtua Tennis, and Sega Bass Fishing. There's a quote from him saying, "Since working here I've met some real okatu," which I suppose is referencing passionate games fans in Japan. On the right side of the page, there's an advert for back issues of the magazine, if you missed any issues. It shows a grid of front covers you can order. Looking at the covers, it's a good snapshot of Dreamcast releases at the time, with games like Shenmue, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, Metropolis Street Racer, Resident Evil, Code Veronica, Crazy Taxi, Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, Rally 2, and even Half-Life, which was a bit of a coup for the Dreamcast to get. They've got issue 0, which looks like it came with a demo disc called The Video. Good bit of nostalgia there, reminding you of the early days of the Dreamcast. This preview highlights the upcoming UFC game on the Dreamcast, emphasizing its extreme realism and brutal violence. The game, developed by Anchor and published by Crave, aimed for a gritty aesthetic with detailed character models, over 5,000 polygons each, and a wide array of moves and combos. Promising features included a creator fighter mode, multiple game modes, arcade, versus tournament, builder fighter and training, and a vast move library, with a final version supposedly containing 1,200 combos and over 3,000 moves total. Comparisons were made to Virtua Fighter 3 TB, highlighting the game's complexity. Despite the screenshots appearing somewhat rough compared to other Dreamcast titles, the focus was clearly on pushing the boundaries of realistic, visceral combat. This page offers a preview of 2 upcoming games. Firstly, there's Ultimate Fighting Championship, looking rather impressive it has to be said. They are really pushing the realism, mentioning over 5,000 polygons per fighter model, and a frankly bonkers number of moves, over 3,000 in total, with 1,200 combos. Anchor are developing this one, published by Crave, and it's aiming for that gritty, violent feel which they are clearly aiming for, judging by the screenshots and the talk of blood and brutal hits. Game modes mentioned are Arcade, Versus Charles, Tournament, Build-A-Fighter, and Training, so plenty to get your teeth into there. Then on the other side of the page we have a look at San Francisco Rush 2049. Ed Lomas is reporting from the future, apparently. This one's from Midway, and they are certainly going for a futuristic vibe. Hoverboards, holographic cinemas, self-drying jackets, the whole shebang. Due out in November, it's a sequel to the original San Francisco Rush, and it seems they've taken the bonkers stunts and driving up a notch with flying cars and even weapons. The screenshot shows some in-game racing action, and the caption suggests there's more to it than just speed, perhaps some tactical elements to consider. This page previews two more crackers coming to the Dreamcast. First up, it's Space Channel 5. Now this looks a bit different, starring Ula, who seems to be some kind of stylish reporter, battling an alien invasion by dancing. Apparently you have to groove along to the music to stop these aliens. It's from Sega, due out in September, and it's certainly got a unique look to it, very colourful and funky. Then on the other side we've got Colin McRae Rally 2.0. Now that's more like it for us driving fans. Codemasters are back with another rally sim, and it looks pretty tasty. They are really pushing the boat out on the realism, talking about mud, dust, tie tracks, the lot. Sounds like they are aiming for a really immersive rally experience. And it's penciled in for December, just in time for Christmas. Looking at the screenshots, it looks like a proper step up from the last one. This page is all about Alone in the Dark, the new nightmare. It's being previewed here as a Dreamcast title. They're saying it might look a bit like Resident Evil, but it's doing its own thing, which is fair enough as the original Alone in the Dark practically invented this survival horror genre back in the day. This new one is set at the turn of the 20th century, which is a bit different. Apparently, Infogrames are behind this one, and they're promising a real focus on atmosphere, spooky music, and gruesome beasties. They are going for survival horror returns according to the magazine. They mention X-Files style torch, which sounds intriguing. The screenshots show some moody-looking environments and characters that look like they've been ripped from a movie. It's due out in October, so not too long to wait. They are talking about all-new scenic camera angles that switch perspective as you move, which sounds a bit fancy for the time. It seems they are really pushing the lighting and shadows to create a tense atmosphere, mentioning the torch being really important. They even compare it to Resident Evil Code Veronica, which is high praise indeed. The article mentions beasts, guns and ghouls, and that the plot is meant to be rather quiet, letting the atmosphere do the talking. It sounds like they're really trying to deliver a proper spooky experience, emphasizing the puzzles and the overall mystery. This page is a look at Jet Set Radio. Seems like a right laugh, this one. They are saying it's the least picked on of the so-called extreme sports games, which is a fair point, isn't it? They're calling it rollerblading, but it looks more like magnetic inline skates in a futuristic Tokyo, to be fair. It's all about gangs of bladers causing a bit of mayhem and spraying graffiti everywhere, a bit of anarchy, which is always welcome. It's from Smilebit, published by Sega, and due out in November. They reckon the graphics are incredible looking cel-shaded, which they are, very stylish. They are banging on about super cool characters, and a funky anarchic attitude, a mixture of skating and rhythmic action. Sounds like a right old mix. The idea is you skate around, collect spray paint, and tag targets before the old bill catch you. Apparently there are 3 streetwise G-Kids, Beat, Gum and Corn, who you play as, and you build up your crew by completing challenges. There are also characters called Combo and Garam mentioned, part of your gang apparently. It's set across Tokyo, Shibuyacho and some enemy territory, divided into 3 areas. They mention Police Captain Onishima, who is waiting to slap the cuffs on anyone he can catch. Typical. It's all about spraying tags whilst grinding and getting some ace replay angles. Looks like a bit of a laugh, and something a bit different for the Dreamcast. This page has previews for Jet Set Radio and Street Fighter II Third Strike. Picking up from the previous page, they are still banging on about Jet Set Radio's incredible cel-shaded visuals, like a living comic book they reckon. Gameplay-wise, it's all about skating around a futuristic Tokyo, causing mayhem by spraying graffiti and outrunning the fuzz, all backed by a proper funky soundtrack, mixing Japanese pop, rock, rap and dance. They are really pushing the tag editor, where you can create your own graffiti, and the dynamic gameplay, and it sounds like there will be online gaming too. The music is a big deal. They say it's like listening to real-world artists, and it really makes the game. Sounds like we can expect it in November for the us and autumn over here. G. Then there is Street Fighter 2. Third Strike, subtitled Fight for the Future, from Capcom, and it's coming this September. They are saying it's a fighting game that just keeps on giving. Still brilliant. This iteration has a new grade judge system, replays you can save on your VM, and some fresh faces like Chun-Li back in the fray, alongside a new gadgetastic Robosby character, and a young karate fighter called Makoto. And Guki, Akuma to our American cousins, is a new super art character. It's the same solid Street Fighter gameplay, but with these additions, still the king of fighters it sounds like. This page features a couple of game previews. First up is Disney's Dinosaur, based on the film, looks like a 3D platform adventure with a touch of RPG elements, coming out in November from Ubisoft. They are highlighting that you can control 3 different dinosaurs, and it will feature cinematic sequences straight from the movie. Looks like you will be exploring jungle environments. Then there's Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six from Red Storm and Take-Two, due out in October. This one's a tactical first-person shooter, proper realistic military-style game, not just another console shooter. They're really pushing the strategic elements, team-based gameplay, and the need for planning. It seems you'll be leading a team, issuing orders, and managing your squad to complete missions. They reckon it's a game for those who prefer patience and tactics over just running in guns blazing. Samba de Amigo is a Dreamcast game where players shake maracas in time with music to score points. The game features dancing monkeys and a fun, colorful vibe, aiming for summer party excitement. Players follow on-screen orbs to the rhythm, earning ranks and unlocking content. The game includes arcade and original modes, the latter unlocking secret tracks. Arcade mode offers over 20 tracks, while original mode provides more. It also features a multiplayer party time mode for 2 players, with a couple game mechanic for sync-based scoring. Mini-games called Maracas Pro Course will also be included. The Dreamcast version is promised as a perfect port, with the price and maraca availability still being finalized. The game is expected to be a hit despite its quirky nature. The next page showcases Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, a visually stunning underwater adventure game. The advert features a striking image of Echo leaping from the water amidst jellyfish and turtles. Alongside this, there's a blockbuster rental offer, promoting Dreamcast game rentals for just 99 pence. Game covers featured in the blockbuster advert include titles like Sega Bass Fishing, Crazy Taxi, Echo the Dolphin itself, Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000, NHL 2K, Soul Calibur, and Zombie Revenge. A good selection of Dreamcast classics there for a cheap rental. This page from the official Dreamcast magazine features an advertisement for a subscription, offering a 33% saving and benefits like a free issue every 3 months, and a monthly Sega gaming disc. The right side showcases the reviews section, with an editorial emphasizing the magazine's commitment to timely and fair game reviews. The editor aims to review games shortly after release, often before they are available in stores. The Reviewed This Issue table provides scores for several Dreamcast games. Aerowings 2, Airstrike scored 70%, Dead or Alive 2 received 62%, and Maken X got 72%. Plasma Sword was awarded 74%, while Nightmare of Bilstein scored 76%. Roadsters and Star Wars Episode 1 Racer achieved 74% and 68% respectively. Sydney 2000, the official Olympics game, received a very low score of 10%. This page is a preview for Dead or Alive 2, boasting about it being the ultimate in armchair martial arts on the Dreamcast. The text emphasizes the game's accessibility and customization, with the reviewer, Steve Full James, joking about creating your own martial arts technique by combining syllables from your name and adding fu to the end, even suggesting adding jitsu. He also mentions, the ancient arts of causing extreme pain are easy to learn, contrasting it with the time needed for real martial arts training. The page features screenshots showcasing the game's characters, including Kasumi, Ayane and Helena, in what looks like the Tibetan stage, with the bridge in the background. There's a mention of Soul Calibur, and the game getting a good score, 10 out of 10, from another magazine, implying its quality. The reviewer signs off with a bit of humor, suggesting his real name is Pepper Watkins. It seems like they are building hype for Dead or Alive 2, though it did receive a rather average score of 62% in the reviews section on the previous page, which is a bit of a surprise considering the preview's enthusiastic tone. This page hypes Dead or Alive 2 as the ultimate fighting game, emphasizing its advanced 3D gameplay compared to earlier fighters. It highlights the game's accessibility and evolution of the genre, even referencing Capcom's Power Stone. The article humorously critiques the over-the-top character costumes, particularly those of Ayan, Leon and Zack, drawing comparisons to professional wrestling. The storyline is described as ludicrous, with snippets of dialogue revealing absurd plot points like Helena accusing Ayan of murder, Ain's hidden identity, and Tina's Hollywood ambitions. The text concludes with screenshots, showcasing the action and humorous captions, aiming to build excitement for Dead or Alive 2's graphics and depth. This page continues the look at Dead or Alive 2, and it's clear they are loving the visual detail, highlighting the texture detail on walls and floors as fantastic. They're impressed with the little touches like ripples and splashes in water and animated faces and muscles. There's talk about the tag mode being a strong point, allowing for some great tag combos. The gameplay sounds fast and furious, encouraging aggressive play. It even mentions the fetish twister near the cliff edge, which sounds like a special move involving Zack and Leon near stage boundaries. The review box is very positive, calling it cheesy, gratuitous but well-executed fighting action, which sums up Dead or Alive perfectly. The uppers section praises the stunning graphics, simple controls, and massive arenas. Downers point out it can be easy to win with a couple of moves, and that some fighters aren't as flashy as others. The score is an 8 out of 10 and labeled very good, noting its gameplay gets repetitive, but otherwise positive. The magazine gives website details, mentions 4 players and video modes, and full-screen 60Hz option, confirming its PAL compatibility. Overall, they are clearly impressed with Dead or Alive 2, and are looking forward to its release. Dave Woods reviews Star Wars Episode I, Racer, a pod racing game based on the movie, initially released on Nintendo 64 and PC, and arriving on the Dreamcast. The game emphasizes intense speed and excellent vehicle handling across 21 varied tracks, from narrow tunnels to open spaces. Graphics are considered adequate. The review praises the exciting action and track design, but criticizes the lack of weapons or power-ups and sparse graphics. The reviewer found it kind of fun and gave it a 6/10 rating, labeling it pretty good. The game features 2-player split-screen and online play. The review mentions the price being £39.99, publisher Activision and developer LucasArts. The screenshots highlight fast-paced racing action and pit droids for repairs. This page presents a review for Aerowings 2, Airstrike, a game that's described as a welcome addition for Dreamcast owners who enjoy aerial combat. The review notes that it's been a while since the previous Aerowings, and this new installment is considered a good step forward. The review mentions that the game is graphically impressive, especially the detailed planes and smooth movement, thanks to the dynamic exterior view. It also praises the precise controls and the game's focus on flying skills, rather than just action. The Tactical Challenges mode is highlighted as being more structured than the original game's free flight mode. The review score is a 6 out of 10, labeled as pretty good. The verdict box summarizes the game as great to look at and smooth to fly, but limited gameplay will leave you frustrated. Uppers include the graphics and dogfighting, while downers mention uninspiring missions and potential frustration. The walkthrough section introduces the basics of the game, advising players to go through the training to learn the controls and skills, mentioning briefing instructions, diagram explanations, and general advice about paying attention to instructor cues. The review box also states a price of £39.99, publisher as Crave, and developer as Cree. Screenshots show cockpit views and a landing sequence. Maken X, reviewed by Steve Fulljames, is a sharp-edged action game with a bizarre story involving AI and a possessed sword. The game features unusual characters and environments, with detailed graphics and varied level designs. Combat focuses on close-quarters action with a lock-on system. Despite its visual appeal, the game suffers from a lack of solid gameplay, earning a score of 5/10. The review cites testing controls, lengthy cutscenes, and clunky camera control as significant drawbacks. While praised for its graphics and concept, the overall verdict deems it an average experience with few redeeming qualities. Priced at £39.99, published by SEGA and developed by Atlas, Maken X is ultimately deemed a game for the curious, not necessarily an essential purchase. Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Bilstein, a Dreamcast fighting game, receives a harsh review. The game features distinct characters and avoids the rehashed feel of series like Street Fighter and Virtua Fighter. Key gameplay involves plasma moves executed with specific button combinations, requiring strategy. Combos, while effective, are described as silly. The review highlights easy-to-perform moves and a lack of variety. Screenshots showcase various in-game elements, from character attacks to blood effects. Ultimately, the game is deemed barely average, with a 4/10 score. The reviewer criticizes its forgettable nature and suggests it's best suited for dedicated fighting game fans, especially given the £39.99 price tag. Roadsters for the Dreamcast is slammed in this review. It's called a misnomer, and criticized for frustrating gameplay focused on dodging and ramming instead of racing. The AI is aggressive, and track design is inconsistent. Visually, it's considered basic, and the sound, featuring hilarious catchphrases and indefensible music, is poor. While the game includes novel random events, the overall experience is marred by appalling handling, collision issues, and dim-witted AI. The reviewer found it unplayable within an hour, and awards a 2 out of 10, labeling it rubbish. Developed by Player One and published by Titus, it's deemed a game to avoid. This page kicks off with an up for discussion segment, Classic Dreamcast Magfair, showing the editorial team pondering 4 recent releases. We've got Tony Hawk Skateboarding, showcasing the groundbreaking trick system that made it a must-have. Then there's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, a proper chaotic and colorful fighter, with a huge roster of characters going at it. Dragon's Blood is also featured. I recall that being a bit of a hack-and-slash action title, with some fantasy elements. Lastly, Midway's Greatest Hits Volume 1 is mentioned, a collection of arcade classics which is always good for a bit of retro fun. Moving on, we've got a section called Reviews Roundup Drinking. Seems like the team took their reviewing duties to the pub, specifically London's Sports Cafe. Apparently, Dan Trent's dishing out the medals. The article talks about how the Sports Cafe is the perfect place to host their regular chat, being a sports-themed venue. It describes the cafe as a hard rock cafe for sports fans, filled with memorabilia and live events. The team apparently met at the Sports Cafe to discuss the latest games and have a bit of a chat, and the article highlights the atmosphere of the place and mentions it being a good spot for conversations. It also mentions the Sports Cafe having locations in Haymarket, Birmingham and Cardiff, with a new Manchester branch opening soon, along with a website address for more info. The Sports Cafe reviews several games this week. Tony Hawk Skateboarding received an 8/10, praised for improved visuals over its PlayStation counterpart and solid gameplay, despite some requiring effort to master. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes scored a 7/10, with its roster and backgrounds lauded, though some found it chaotic and potentially better suited for the Dreamcast. Dragon's Blood, a fantasy action title, earned a 6/10, with mixed opinions on its visuals and overall impact. Lastly, Midway's Greatest Hits Volume 1 got a 3/10. While featuring retro classics, the collection was deemed basic and dated, only potentially worthwhile for a cheap retro fix. The next page is an advert for Gameplay, pushing their extended sale on Dreamcast games at £29.99 or less. They're highlighting a few key titles. You've got Dead or Alive 2, splashed across the page there, always a looker back then. Fur Fighters is also prominent. That was a quirky platformer if I remember right, a bit different. Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future is there too. A visually stunning game even now. Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, NFL Blitz 2000, Sonic Adventure, and Soul Calibur also featured, all solid launch window titles. They are also advertising the Dreamcast console itself for £149.99, including Choo Choo Rocket, along with a range of peripherals like extra controllers, VMAs, steering wheels and cables, all the usual bits and bobs you needed to get the most out of the system. They're also selling Neo Geo Pocket Color handhelds. They're really going for the full package here, aren't they? Free delivery and returns too. Seems like a good deal if you were after a Dreamcast back in the day. This page is part 6 of Jobs in the Industry, and it's profiling musicians in the games industry, focusing on a chap named Adam Phillips. It's all about what musicians actually do in the games world, going beyond just composing tunes. They're talking about producing, recording, mixing music for games. Apparently musicians also get involved in sound effects and implementation too. They mention the prospects are potentially top-notch, especially for those who can turn their hand to TV and film work as well. Salary-wise, it's starting at around £15,000, potentially going up to £3,040,000 with bonuses, which wasn't bad money back then, mind you. Qualifications-wise, they reckon some kind of music qualification is preferred, but practical skills like working under pressure and writing in different styles are just as important. The article itself talks about how game music has to grab your attention quickly. It's not just background noise, it's got to complement the gameplay. They touch on the technical side too, mentioning things like MIDI and samples. It points out that writing music for games is quite different from writing for films or TV, more about shorter loops and reacting to gameplay events, rather than just linear soundtracks. It's a decent insight into a side of game development you don't always think about. This piece profiles 3 musicians in the games industry: Nathan McCree, Richard Jacques, and Alistair Brimble. McCree, known for the Tomb Raider theme, started young. Jacques, with formal musical training, worked on titles like Sonic R and Metropolis Street Racer. Brimble began as a freelancer, contributing to games such as Alien Breed and Rollercoaster Tycoon 2. They discussed their careers, including getting started, job specifics, required skills, and advice for aspiring game musicians. Jacques highlights creative freedom, while McCree notes the pressure and deadlines. Brimble points out the lack of appreciation and low pay in some British software companies. A case study focuses on Jacques' work for Metropolis Street Racer, showcasing the creative brief to provide players with diverse music choices via radio stations. The article concludes with a verdict, offering pros, creativity, opportunities, and cons, industry instability, pressure, of the profession. Maxime Delaris, art coach at Callisto Entertainment, discusses their Dreamcast racer, Four-Wheel Thunder. The game emphasizes impressive weather effects, with dynamic lighting and dust, impacting gameplay. The team opted for a 4-player mode with a bomb tag feature. They aimed for a mature, universally appealing experience, including professional voice acting and a signature announcer. The title evolved from Exoration to Four-Wheel Thunder. The game features rolling starts and monster trucks. Music draws from electronic and independent artists. The French development team acknowledges their nation's racing game success. While online isn't available for Four-Wheel Thunder, it's considered for future titles. The driving model balances accessibility and depth. Callisto, named after Greek legend, prioritizes fan interaction. They minimized pop-up issues, especially in split screen. Four-Wheel Thunder appears to be a visually focused racer with strong gameplay elements. Legend. This page offers hints and tips for Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future on the Dreamcast, which was quite the looker back then, even if it was a bit bonkers difficulty-wise. They're calling it Swim Through Part 1, which suggests there's more to come. The Before You Dive In section gives some solid general advice for newcomers, like using fish for energy, being mindful of health, and utilizing sonar crucial for Echo games. They also mention glowing crystals, a classic Echo element for health and sonar boosts, and even using look buttons, something you easily forget in the heat of the moment. The bulk of the page is a step-by-step guide, starting with Aquamarine Bay and then moving on to Perils of the Coral Reef. It's all presented with numbered screenshots, showing key moments and directions. It's a proper walkthrough, guiding you through specific actions and encounters in those early levels. Looks like a decent primer for anyone struggling to get to grips with Echo's world. This guide offers tips for Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, focusing on 3 areas. Trial Without Error involves navigating past sharks and reuniting a mother dolphin with her young, utilizing sonar, and finding health boosts. 4 Ways of Mystery features a puzzle with colored light passages, red, yellow, blue, and jellyfish. The guide recommends sonar for navigation and following directions. Finally, Perils of the Coral Reef, again, emphasizes sonar to clear rocks and progress, while avoiding hammerhead sharks. It also directs players to use an octopus to interact with a rock formation shaped like a crocodile's mouth to advance. This page features an advert for PC Gear magazine, offering readers a risk-free trial of 3 issues, plus free keydroms, and a 50% saving if you subscribe. It highlights that PC Gear is a new computer magazine for people interested in life beyond their PC. On the left side, the hints and tips section continues for Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. This section provides guidance for levels named Up and Down and Passage from Genesis. Up and Down gives tips on using sonar to navigate, finding vitalites, health boosts, and progressing through underwater passages by pushing rocks. Passage from Genesis is described as a nostalgic level, referencing the original Echo games, with bonus levels. The hints direct players to look for 2 vitalites in the bottom right of the level, and to use sonar power to break through to the next area. This page continues the Hints and Tips section, now focusing on Resident Evil Code Veronica Player Guide Part 3. It mentions we're nearing the end of the game, with Chris Redfield, Alfred and Alexia Ashford, and Steve Key playing key roles. There's a helpful key for maps, which explains all the icons you'll see on the floor plans, like green and red herbs, ammo types, save points, and storage. The page then dives into a walkthrough for the Antarctic base section of the game. It's a step-by-step guide with screenshots, taking you through puzzles involving octagonal handles, valves, freezing rooms, and collecting jewels to open new areas. Over on the right side, we have a section dedicated to battle mode. This is highlighted as a reward for completing the main game, and it's all about clearing areas quickly and efficiently. You get ranked based on your time. Claire is featured as a playable character in this mode, armed with her bow gun. There's a time ranking table showing the grades from S down to E, and what time you need to achieve each rank. Finally, it mentions an alternate Claire costume you can unlock if you're skilled enough to beat battle mode with Claire. This Hints and Tips page for Code Veronica offers valuable gameplay assistance. It details battle mode rankings and playable characters, Chris, Wesker, and Steve, with Chris and Steve recommended choices based on their available weaponry. A room-by-room guide helps players navigate enemy and item locations, including herbs and first aid sprays. The page reveals the location of a secret room, with extra herbs and Wesker's diary. It also provides boss strategies, such as using grenade rounds on Nosferatu and employing powerful weapons on other bosses. Lastly, Fun Stuff highlights battle mode's unlockable costumes, especially an alternate outfit for Claire, and provides general gameplay tips, like using the rocket launcher in New Game Plus, conserving resources, and classic story moments. This double-page spread from a classic gaming magazine features a mix of player-submitted hints and cheat codes. The left side provides solutions to tricky game areas, including Choo Choo Rocket, Atade Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, Resident Evil, Code Veronica, Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain, and Evolution. Players sought help with puzzles, locating items, mastering battle tactics, and discovering new areas. The right side is dedicated to cheat codes. Included are codes for NHL 2K, Big Head Mode, Black Box Team, Dragon's Blood, Level Select, Choo Choo Rocket, Chaos Characters, Saturn Classic Nights, Various Modes, Street Fighter 2i, Double Impact, Unlock Characters and Options, Sword of the Berserk, Guts Rage, Minigame, and Zombie Revenge, Alternate Costume and Level Select. Additional tips cover unlocking free play, blood colors, and hidden costumes activated by specific button combinations. Screenshots from several games illustrate the fun. This page showcases the Challenges section, a regular feature inviting gamers to prove their skills in various Dreamcast titles. This month they've picked 3 crackers. Four Wheel Thunder, asking players to nail the fastest lap time in the outdoor, Far West level, a proper off-road racer that one. Then there's Crazy Taxi, challenging for the quickest parking time any character will do, always a laugh to drift around in that one. And finally, Zombie Revenge, a beat-em-up, where you have to complete the versus boss mode stage with Mevilized in the fastest time, using whatever weapons you can get your hands on. Classic arcade fun there. They've also posted the results from last month's challenges for Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, and Revolt. Looks like Sean Locker from Northland topped the Crazy Taxi leaderboard, Stephen Hills from Leeds smashed the Soul Calibur challenge, and Alea Newton from Surrey was quickest in Revolt. Fair play to them. Over on the right side, it's an advert for PC Zone magazine's website, touting itself as the serious PC games zone. They're pushing their online reviews, downloads, and hints and tips, all updated daily, at 3:30 p.m. Seems like they are trying to grab some attention for their online presence. This Dreamcast game directory from ODM features reviews of various titles. Standouts include Four Wheel Thunder and Evolution, both earning 8/10. Four Wheel Thunder is praised as a top off-road racer, while Evolution offers a strong RPG experience. Blue Stinger and Fur Fighters each score a 7/10. Other games, like Aerowings, Deep Fighter, and Dragon's Blood, receive middling scores, while Buggy Heat, Deadly Skies, Dynamite Cop, ECW Hardcore Revolution, and Fighting Force 2 are heavily criticized. 2 unrated online puzzle games, Catmania, Place Again, Everybody Move, and Choo Choo Rocket, Rick Harlud, are highlighted, although a copy/paste error makes their descriptions identical. This Dreamcast directory reviews a variety of games. Standouts include Crazy Taxi, 9/10, for its fast-paced fun, Echo the Dolphin. Defender of the Future, 9/10, for its unique adventure. Ready 2 Rumble Boxing, 9/10, for its cartoon style, and Midway's Greatest Hits Volume 1, 9/10, a compilation of classic arcade games. Other highly rated games include GTA 2 8/10 and NBA 2K 8/10. Several games received middling scores, such as Gauntlet Legends 6/10 and Mortal Kombat Gold 5/10, which was showing its age. The reviews highlight the diversity of the Dreamcast library, with both hits and misses, including some controversial reviews, and a range of genres. NFL Quarterback Club 2000 2/10 and Heart 2 Heart Racing 4/10 are amongst the worst. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 received wildly different scores, with one review giving a perfect 10 out of 10 and another only a 5/10. The Games Directory reviews Dreamcast titles. Pen Pen, a penguin ice skating game, scores 6/10. Power Stone and Psychic Force 2012 each earn 8/10, praised for combat and style. Rayman 2 gets 8/10 for platforming. Red Dog receives 5/10 due to control issues. Resident Evil 2 scores 7/10, while Code Veronica gets a strong 8/10. Revolt and Sega Bass Fishing both get 7/10. Sega Rally 2 achieves 8/10. Shadowman gets 6/10. Sonic Adventure, a must-have, scores 9/10. Sega Worldwide Soccer scores 6/10, with the Euro edition earning 7/10. Slave Zero gets 5/10. Speed Devils gets 7/10. Snow Surfers 6/10. And South Park, Chef's Love Shack 4/10. Soul Calibur and Street Fighter Alpha 3 are rated 9/10 and 8/10 respectively. Street Fighter 2E and Suzuki All-Star Extreme Racing score 7/10 each. Sword of the Berserk, Guts Rage receives 5/10. Tech Romancer earns 8/10. The FAQ addresses common Dreamcast hardware queries regarding peripherals, like light guns, SCART leads, and hard drive usage. The Dreamcast magazine reviews a diverse range of games. Standouts include the Kart Racer Wacky Races, 9/10, Tony Hawk Skateboarding and Worms Armageddon, both 8/10, and the Nomad Soul, praised for its story and soundtrack, 8/10. Many titles receive a 7/10, representing solid experiences. Tee-Off, Tomb Raider, The Last Revelation, Toy Commander, Trick Style, Vigilante 8-2 ND Offense, Virtua Fighter 3 TB, Virtua Striker 2, Rally 2 Expert Edition, Weetrix Plus, Y, Kotone, and Zombie Revenge. Games like Tokyo Highway Challenge, 5/10, Wafer Striker, 6/10, WWF Attitude and Shark Revenge, both 3/10, received lower scores. The magazine also features ads for mail-order video games, cheat services, and Dreamcast game sales. This magazine section features reader reviews and a FAQ for the Dreamcast. Tony Hawk Skateboarding receives an 8/10 for its addictive gameplay and graphics. NHL 2K scores a 9/10 for being a strong hockey game. Resident Evil 2 gets a 7/10, praised for its gameplay despite dated graphics. Evolution earns an 8/10 for its engaging RPG elements, despite repetitive dungeons. Zombie Revenge, at 6/10, is noted for its over-the-top action, especially in 2-player mode. The FAQ explains Dreamcast technical aspects, Grand ROM format, region-free compatibility, and game delays in Europe. It also mentions the standard game price, arcade hardware, Naomi, and confirms that Naomi games work on the Dreamcast. Finally, the FAQ addresses the lack of PC game compatibility and notes the upcoming UK release of Shenmue. This page is all about sports websites, a bit of a change of pace from games themselves. We've got sections for bicycling, Electronic Telegraph, Boxing Online, Football Unlimited, Cricinfo for cricket fans, Golf.com, Horse Racing International Tennis Federation, MLB, NFL, NHL, Olympics, Planet Football, Rocklist, which is a bit odd for a sports page, Sky Sports, Snooker News, Sporting Life, Sportsline, Sportal, Swiminfo, and SportPod. Each section gives a brief overview of the website's content and what you can expect. There are screenshots of each website from back in the day, showing how basic things were online then. On the right, there's a full-page advert for the Dreamcast Magazine website, dreamcastmag.co.uk. It's promoting the website as the online version of the magazine, with daily updates, previews, reviews, features, chat, and even a mailbox section. They're pushing it as the place to be for Dreamcast info and community online. This page is titled The Big Debate, Preaching to the Converted, and it's all about whether it's a good idea to try and get PlayStation and PC gamers to switch over to the Dreamcast. They've got opinions from a bunch of industry blokes: Russell Peterson, who works in systems admin, Paul Benjamin, a product manager, Serge Plangnol, who is involved in product development at SEGA, Stephen Augustin, a freelance product designer, Pete Hawley, who produces games at Lionhead Studios, and Bruno Amarelli, a contracts account executive. They're discussing if it's really worth the effort to convert people already happy with their PlayStations and PCs to the Dreamcast, and if it's good for business. Games like Black and White, GTA 2, Nomad Soul, Resident Evil, and Quake 2 Arena get a mention in the discussion. They bring up points about whether Dreamcast games are different enough to tempt people over, and if those already converted to Dreamcast are the best audience to focus on anyway. They touch on things like the cost of conversions, the quality of Dreamcast-specific titles, and whether it's worth trying to win over people from other platforms when you've already got a solid fanbase. It's a proper industry debate about the direction of the Dreamcast. The next page continues the big debate. They're still chewing over this idea of persuading PlayStation and PC gamers to jump ship to the Dreamcast. Pete Hawley from Lionhead is saying he'd be surprised if developers actually added extra original content to a conversion. He reckons it's already a tough job to get a game across to another console without stripping bits out. Stephen Augustin chips in. He doesn't think £40 is a fair price for a console game when you can get it on PC for £30. He thinks people will grumble about that. The discussion touches on Dreamcast conversions versus PlayStation counterparts, with folks like ODM suggesting Dreamcast should be priced the same or cheaper than PlayStation games. They're bringing up points about Sega needing to justify the cost to retailers too. They mention games like Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, which apparently was a bit of a dodgy conversion, and Tomb Raider on the Dreamcast, which apparently didn't do so well because of negative press. The games Quake 2 Arena, Black and White, GTA 2, Nomad Soul, and Resident Evil 2 are also still in the mix as examples in this discussion. It's all about whether these conversions offer enough to tempt players over, and if the price is right. They're really getting into the nitty-gritty of game development costs and what players expect when they're buying games on different platforms. This Dreamcast magazine page features reader letters covering various topics. Concerns are raised about game quality, with a reader hoping Quake 2 Arena will be a good conversion, and another highlighting the online experience of games like Ikaruga. Football game quality is debated, with the Dreamcast acknowledged as having good titles but still behind PlayStation. Readers discuss the value of full-priced games and accessing Sega's online service, Dream Arena. A reader praises Sega's customer service. The Ask Sega section answers reader questions about merchandise, console sales, light guns, game rentals in Ireland, and compatibility with Saturn discs. Sega confirms Dreamcast cannot play Saturn discs. Other questions are about game defects and technical issues, like slowdown and console crashes, which are addressed by providing support contact information or explaining the causes. This page features an interview with Dermot McPartland from PD3, discussing Sega Europe's ambient advertising campaign for the Dreamcast. He explains they used guerrilla marketing tactics, specifically projecting ads onto buildings in London using a mega-powerful projector. The campaign involved projecting slogans like "Show the Continentals Who's the Daddy," along with images related to Dreamcast games, such as a face against the Union Jack flag. The interview mentions that this was done to add value to TV advertising and create buzz. On the right side of the page, there's a hot dog magazine cover, a movie magazine, with a behind-the-scenes special on Gone in 60 Seconds, featuring Angelina Jolie and Nick Cage, and also highlights Snatch and Goodfellas. It's September 2000 issue, and it seems to be placed there for general context, or perhaps because the Dreamcast magazine is related to entertainment media, in a broader sense.